If you are new to our channel, my name is Bonnie. I'm one half of the BonnaH Co duo. Tomorrow you're going to meet the other half, Hannah. Uh, First, we just want to welcome you to our 5th year of BonnaH Co Embroidery Bingo. We actually heard about bingo, or we saw Jessica Long of Jessica Long Embroidery do bingo about, I guess when we saw it was probably about 6 years ago. And we thought it was such a wonderful idea, a great way to learn a lot of stitches and play a game of bingo. So we were inspired by her and we did our own take on it, and we've been doing it ever since. And as I mentioned, it's our 5th year. I also want to mention that Hannah and I are super lucky to live in the beautiful town of Fairfield, Connecticut, which is the ancestral home of the Umpqua-as, the Sasquas, the Maximux, Pequannock, and Pequot people. Before we get started, I also want to share a little bit about how we teach at BonnaH Co. We really believe that everyone's embroidery practice or creative practice should be their own. That there are many different ways to do something, and that there isn't really like one right or wrong way to do it. Some ways may be faster, some ways might feel easier, but if they don't feel right to you, then we want you to do what works for you. That's what's important. We want it to be enjoyable. We want you a little bit outside of your comfort zone though, because that's kind of how we learn and grow. We will show you different ways to do a stitch. We will make many suggestions on how you can approach it, and how you can apply it to your design. Let's see, what else? The other thing is that Hannah and I, you're gonna notice as you watch our demos, we stitch very differently, and that's totally okay. And I think that's great for you to see that, because we do have very, very different approaches. I am what we consider I am a self-proclaimed recovering perfectionist. Hey, how are you, Hannah? Hannah's actually joining me in the chat. So if you are new to YouTube as well, this is my first official live stream. So, oh, and I think Arlene just joined me too. Hi, Arlene. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. So you can feel free to leave any questions or comments in the chat, and I will hopefully see them, and I will do my very best to answer them. If for some reason you don't get an answer today or during the live stream, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know if you had any questions about how to approach your particular stitch in the box that you have. So everyone had a unique stitch list. You are going to follow that. This is the one that we have that we're going to be using today, that Hannah and I will be sharing. And the other thing is we want you to understand that, I just lost my train of thought. What we are live, as I mentioned. So, oh, I know. We generally pull from this jar, the stitches. And so from today, after today, we are going to pull from this jar. But today, because it's the first day and we may have some totally new stitchers joining us, then hi Lisa, then we wanted to start with something a little bit more basic. So we have chosen to kick us off the double running zigzag stitch. So if you're not familiar with the double running zigzag stitch, it is actually the cousin to the double running stitch, which is basically just a running stitch, dashed lines that you go in one direction and then you come back and you fill them in. So let me just turn the camera around and get everything set up so that you can see it, see what I'm doing. Just give me 1 second. Oh yes, Hannah reminded me that I lost my train of thought, and I was gonna finish saying how we are very different. I am a recovering perfectionist, so I stitch very precisely, very slowly, and just it is important to me most of the time that things look a certain way in my stitches, and Hannah is more of what we call an ish stitcher. So it's close-ish, it's it's good enough kind of thing, and it's a lot more carefree and relaxed. And both approaches are very much okay. And that's what we want our driving message to be, is that you see that it's okay if yours does not look like what we demo. We want to just inspire you, and we want you to see that you can do a lot of different things with these stitches. There are going to be stitches, if you've been playing bingo with us for a while, there are going to be stitches that pop up year after year. And that's usually a sign that it's a really important stitch to know. It's a very useful stitch and a very versatile stitch. So I'm trying to get the chat up. And yesterday I was able to see the chat, but today I don't see the chat. Oh, maybe there we go. Again, technical difficulties, but I think I have figured it out. All right. So again, welcome everyone. We're super glad to see you here. And all right, so I'm going to show you where our double running zigzag is on our stitch list. So everybody has a unique stitch list. If you registered to play bingo, you would have received yours via email. What you can do if you haven't already, one thing that's helpful is maybe to sometimes cut them out and reorganize them in alphabetical order, just so it's easier to find them. But you just want to make sure you carry over the number that goes along with your stitch as well, because the numbers correspond to the boxes. So we are working from a 16 box grid, and any of the stitches outside of 16, so from 17 to 21, those stitches are going to go outside of the box or outside the border anywhere you want. Or if you don't want to stitch it, you don't have to. You can just take a break that day. But we encourage you to give it a shot. So we're starting outside of the board for our first stitch today, because we have ours in number 19, which means it's anywhere outside, right? So what I'm gonna do is show you what we've done, what Hannah and I have done in our samplers. So in my sampler, I had, oh, yours is 19 as well. All right, cool. So on my sampler, I had mine in box 6, box 6. So that's this one. And so this little owl, I ended up doing the zigzag stitch, kind of using it to define the owl. Oh, we have a lot that are outside of the board today. Okay, well, it's okay. It's a good way to kind of warm up. So I used it to kind of define almost like feather wings, and also to do sort of a rim around the eyes. Lisa's got it in the hummingbird box. Very cool. Also along the chest feathers. And if you noticed, I also used it as a tiny little stitch here on the nose, just one zigzag. And then again, to define the feathers. Now what you're going to notice is that you do not have to stitch that much. You can do very little, or you could do it on the outside of the box if you'd like. You just wanted to try it. Hannah did hers here on this little birdie in box 2, and she just did it to sort of fill in the bird along the chest and the body, and then she added these super fun little like eyebrows and little feathers up on top here. So she didn't have to do everything. She just chose to do some on the body, and that's exactly what you can do too. You can do it wherever you want, however many stitches of it as you'd like. What you can do is a couple different things. You're going to choose your thread. I'm going to, since I'm outside the box, I think I'm going to do it today in the letter D. D for double running, I guess. And the other thing we recommend is you can be using different hoops if you'd like, whatever fits. In the beginning, it may not really matter what size hoop. Once you have some of the stitches on there though, you might find it easier to use some smaller hoops so that you can sort of work around some of these more textural and bumpier areas, okay? So I'm gonna start, since I'm just working in the D, I'm gonna start with a 3-inch hoop, and I'm gonna get my fabric in the hoop. And I want to get it nice and drum tight, but not distorted. So let me just kind of zhuzh it a little in there. Okay. And I think I'm going to demo it using one of the variegated threads. If you got threads from us and you wanted to use the same ones, you can use this one. This is the 4507. If it's a DMC skein, you're going to want to pull from the side that has the number on it. Usually that is a safe bet to pull that, and it doesn't get tangled when you use that end, so try to remember that. But not all skeins are the same. Some brands do it the other way. Last year when we did Fur Baby Bingo, we had some Cosmo threads, and you actually pull from the other side, so something to keep in mind. So I'm going to start with this variegated thread, and I'm going to divide it in half. So there's usually 6 strands in one full strand, and I'm going to turn it into 3 and 3. So I'm going to do it in half. Now you can either pull it like so and separate it, just pull slowly, or you can strip it and just pull individual threads at a time. The fun thing about the variegated thread is that you can see that it changes from one color to the next. If you want to leave it the way in the order that the thread was dyed, you can do that. The other thing you can do is you can separate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one way with the thread as is, and then I'm going to show you another way where you can kind of get more of a mottled look, a more varied distribution of the color, or a mix of it. And if you aren't playing with our curated threads, you can certainly use whatever colors you want. Again, there aren't any rules. We really do believe that your embroidery practice should be whatever makes you happy. Okay, so whatever colors you want, we try to make it super accessible. All right, so let's get that threaded and knotted, and we'll start. So the way the double running zigzag works is you're basically going to start with all of the zigs, basically, like all these angled stitches, and then you go back in and you fill in the zags, right? So you're gonna zig in one direction, zag back in the other. You can use the dot grid that's printed on the fabric, or you can draw your own if you have like a friction marker or any kind of washable or removable marking utensil. We like to use the friction, but you can use whatever you have. And you can draw a zigzag in, and it doesn't have to be a perfect zigzag. It can be kind of wonky. Let's get started. So I'm going to start from the back, and I'm just going to tip my needle at an angle so that I can kind of see where it is. So if you notice, it's right around here, and my needle's traveling now to this point. I'm going to start down in about halfway between these 2 points on the grid. And I'm going to go in with sort of like all my forward slashes first. And you're going to notice that I'm using a poke and pull method, or a stabbing method. Okay, that just gives me a little bit more precision. So if I'm imagining where my next zig is going to go, you can kind of like see where the angle of my needle is. I'm going to come back up in the back. So around here, pull all the way. Just make sure you flip your fabric over, your hoop over to the back, and just check that you have pulled the thread tightly all the way up against the back of the fabric. And so what you can do is use your thread, like hold the working thread. They call it the working thread because basically it's the part of the thread that is doing all the work. It's making the stitches. So you can take this working thread and you can lay it down to get the angle that you want, right? I think what I'm going to do is on this straight side of the D, I'm going to try to get it fairly regular and even. And then as I go around to the other side, the curve, I'm going to kind of let it be a little crazier. So if I move that working thread over, I can kind of find where the next spot is that I'm going to reinsert my needle. So I'm zigging in this direction, and again, so you can see I'm kind of skipping every other dot on the grid. Again, I can move it and hold that working thread to see where it's going. Now I'm right up against the hoop, and if you notice, you may not have seen it, but if I had tried to poke straight down, I would have been hitting the inside hoop, the inner hoop. So what I did was I kind of went under the fabric, between the fabric and the hoop, and I went in at an angle so that I could pull it, kind of sneak it underneath the hoop there. Okay, so I got 3 zigs here, and now I want to go back in and do my zags. So my zag is going to sort of stop against that edge of the hoop again. So I went in one direction, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to fill in with sort of the backslash, right? So now I'm going to come back up at the end, or at the beginning of that last stitch there. You can see why the poke and pull method works really well with this. So now I'm going to go ahead and meet the end of that stitch. Go back down, go back up, and down. So that's one way you can do the double running zigzag. And now I want to show you, I mentioned how you can kind of be a little bit more irregular with it. So let's say I start from this side. The other thing is, a lot of times you'll see people demoing using hoop stands. That's great because it keeps their work very still and steady. But when we're working, we tend to turn our hoops a lot, manipulate our hoops a lot, kind of use our fingers in the back to manipulate the fabric as we're doing our stitches. So we don't really use a hoop stand. So we're going to be kind of rotating. You'll see we'll rotate our hoops a lot, and that's okay too. So again, that's what works for us. All right, so now I'm going to go in the other direction. I guess again, I'm going to turn. I'm going to do all of my the backslashes again. These are going to be my zigs on this side. And now I'm going to just sort of freeform it, and I'm not going to worry as much. I'm just going to kind of go all the way around. They're not going to look like much yet. And you're going to notice that as I get to this curve, they're going to be really kind of wonky, and that's okay. I'm sort of trying to imagine that zag line and what that might look like. And if you have trouble imagining it, just draw it. Nothing wrong with that. You can draw just a very loose zigzag line and see what you think. So I'm going to work my way around. I'm getting close to the end of my thread here. So you see, I've only got about 4 inches, maybe 3 or 4 inches left. So I think what I'd better do is go back to the back and tie this off. So I'm going to come underneath one of those nearby stitches to anchor it. And then go through through that little loop before it closes. Now, some people stitch with knots and others do not. We are not stitchers, so you'll see us using knots, but you can do it however you want. Again, whatever works for you. Oh, what did I do here? Oh, I traveled all the way up there. That's why I should have come down this way. One thing you're going to notice about the double running or a double running zigzag is from the back, usually, if you didn't do what I did, which is travel all the way from here to there, I should have kind of kept going from this side, is that it looks pretty much the same from the front and back minus the knots. Okay, so it's a good option for something that, like if you're stitching on something with transparency, like a chiffon or a, what's that other word I'm thinking of? Or organza or something like that. Okay, so let's get this one. This was the other half of that strand, and I wanted to also show you how you can strip the threads and rearrange them. So you see how on this side I have, let's put it on white. I have one side is the pink. Oh, this one, both sides is pink. Well, that's not going to show you very well then, is it? Well, I'll do it anyway, just so you can see. Let's say it was the blue on the other side, and one side is pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take at least one of them out. I'm going to pull one strand off, and then hold the base of it loosely and just pull. And you can just straighten that back up. So then what you can do is take the one you took off and turn it the other way, so that you kind of mess it up a little bit. It will redistribute some of those colors and make it sort of an all over effect, instead of it being as even. Okay. And depending on how many strands you've got, you might do more than one. Like if I was working with 4 strands, then I might do 2 going in one direction and the other 2 going in a different direction, right? You can also use this stitch with 2 totally different colors. So let me just show you, what this looks like first. I'll finish this section and then I'll show you what it looks like if you use 2 different colors. Hi, Aubrey. Am I playing Thread Chicken again? Yes, I am definitely playing Thread Chicken again. You know how I love playing Thread Chicken. 6 for Aubrey. I think that's the thing, is I noticed when I'm doing this with the iPad, the chat disappears. So I have to remember to go back and check the chat. All right, so now I've got to finish my zigging so I can go back in the other direction and do my zagging. All right, so now I'm going to come up and I can connect it to this stitch, I guess. So I don't know if you can see it, but in this, let me get the white paper again. In this section of the thread, I've got the blue and that sort of teal color running next to each other now. So that's what I mean by it sort of softens the variegation and breaks it up a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to zag back in the other direction. So you basically do all of your, either you can think of it as all of your backslashes in one direction, then go back and do all of your forward slashes in the other, or you can start with the forward slashes, but they're all kind of going, the first round, the first direction, all go in the same, lean in all the same direction. And then on the way back, you just fill in, you connect. So now I'm going to go back. Now, if you wanted to do a sewing method, you could kind of rock your needle back and then come back up at the end of that stitch here. But like I said, for me, I find it not as precise. So you can try it if you like. It does help in terms of speed. So again, I'll rock the needle back. Come up at that other end. Bye, Hannah. All right, and then I'm gonna finish filling in all these zags. Okay. So you can see on the other side, minus the knots, it's nice on both sides too. That's the other thing. There are some stitchers who are really meticulous with their backs. So again, we don't care. Doesn't matter to us what the back looks like, okay? Most of the time you're not gonna see the back anyway. So it's like our little secret. It's all right if it's messy in the back. So that's another version of the double running zigzag, but you can see here, much more precise. Here, I'm letting it kind of be a bit more freeform. So let me show you one more thing before I let you go. Can you guys tell that I'm nervous? Because I do feel very nervous. Whew. All right, so let's knock that off. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get two of the solid colors, and I'm gonna start with the, let's see, I think I'm gonna start with the teal color. Oh, thank you, Lisa. I think it's the new, because it's YouTube and it's different for us, it does make it a little bit more stressful. Thank you, Arlene. I really appreciate the words of encouragement, ladies. Very helpful. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove one from the skein. So I get one strand, I'll start with that. And so you can do a zigzag where all the zigs are one color and all the zags are another color. Or you can mix them up and do all kinds of different colors, right? So if you don't have variegated thread, but you want a little bit more of a mix of it, then you could do this. So let me see. I think I might just overlap them and kind of make it a little crazy. I don't know if it'll be easy for you guys to see, but we're doing this live and I'm going for it, and we're gonna just try this, okay? So I'm gonna take, I wanna keep it in the D. So I'm gonna just do a bunch. Maybe I'll do this one a little smaller. And I'm not gonna worry if they're a little wonky. I'm gonna just kind of let it go free form. Okay, so we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 zigs, and I'll tie this off. If you're right up against the hoop, you can use some of those stitches from the back side to travel closer to the center of the hoop to make it a little easier to tie it off in the back. Okay, and then I'm gonna switch to the pink solid. And get that threaded and knotted. We saw a really cool way to make a knot that's new to us. And isn't that what is so fun about doing all of these crafts, is that you're always learning new stuff, right? You're forever learning. There's always new ways or ways that other people know that you don't know. And it's such a wonderful, generous community where everyone shares their, not everyone, but a lot of people share their thoughts and techniques. And so you can always adapt and change and try it. So what they do is they wrap the long end, the working thread end, around the needle and then hold it, and then they twirl it around like that. And then they hold it and then they pull. And look, lo and behold, there is a knot. It's like a miracle. It's so cool. All right, so I'm not really supposed to be demoing knots, but why not? Let's just share the wealth of knowledge. I'll have to figure out who it was, where I saw that. It was on some other account on Instagram, and I'm gonna have to make sure we share where the source came from. Okay, so now I'm gonna come back, and now I'm gonna fill in with the pink. And then you'll see you get a nice two-tone zigzag. I'll switch to the sewing method again too. Let me go here. So this is a real kind of wonky little zigzag, right? But that's another way you can do it. So unless my live friends have any questions, I think that's gonna do it for the zigzag today. The double running zigzag. If you have any other specific questions about the birds themselves, let me just recap. Hold on, let me just knot this off and then we'll recap. All right. So let's say you have it in a bird. Again, you can use it to define tail feathers, sort of zigzag shape there. You can use it to define wings. So you can kind of create the wing shape over here, or the tail feathers, or a little zigzag along the chest. So again, like I did. Oh, thank you very much, Aubrey. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you guys can make it tomorrow too. I think Hannah goes on tomorrow around 7:30, so that's our one evening demo of the week. So again, you can use them along the chest feathers here. Let me think if there's anywhere else, but wherever you want. And if you don't want to tackle it on the bird, you can do it in the background too. All right. So that's it for today. Thanks again for joining me for day one. And we will see you back tomorrow. And good luck, everyone. Good luck with bingo this year. All right? Take care. Thank you.